What's going on, Central Unit? Is the Central Man here. So this is my review of WCW Monday Nitro for the 1st of January 1996. The first Nitro of the new year. 1996 is turned out to be the start of the boom period of WCW. That'll be later on in the summer, with the NWO and the Outsiders. So this show was in Atlanta, Georgia. It starts with Randy Savage, the former world champion. This is the first show after Starrcade. It took place 1 week after Starrcade. That was on a Wednesday instead of the traditional Sunday. Taking on the enforcer of the Four Horsemen, Double A, Arn Anderson. A good opener. The bulk of the match, Arn Anderson working on the injured arm of the Macho Man. Basically, like, hitting him with the ring post. Because Randy Savage's arm was taped up. I think he suffered like a tricep injury, elbow injury, bicep injury. It's one or the other. He kind of like did like a body slam on it. He managed to hit his finisher, the DDT, onto the injured arm of Randy Savage. He's about to pin, getting the victory, but Randy Savage's his foot was on the ropes. There was a referee bump. He's trying to hit Randy Savage in the face with, I think he was using Knuckle Duster to get the victory, but instead, Savage decked Double A with the Knuckle Duster to score the victory. And then we got Chris Benoit, other member of the Four Horsemen, taking on Lord Steven Regal. Another good match with two good workers in the ring, Benoit and Regal. One more of the match, really Benoit was going for like a diving headbutt off the top rope, but Regal got out of the way. He's trying to hit Benoit with the Tombstone Piledriver, but Benoit countered it, hit Regal with his own Tombstone Piledriver. He was going for like a move off the top rope, but Regal got out of the way, took a sick third, put Benoit back in the ring, pins him for the victory. And then you got Brian Pillman confronting both Arn Anderson and Chris Benoit for losing their matches on the show. And he said to Benoit, you're here to win and dominate, not to languish in mediocrity. And then Benoit says, it's fair luck, it's harsh luck. Any wrestlers beat me, I hold my own, and what's the lesson? You hold your own on your own. And basically, he go towards Double A because he lost to Randy Savage. Lost to the really a move by the Horseman's playbook. And also, Double A took a dig at Brian Pillman for causing a war and a fire. Basically he was starting shit with the Dungeon of Doom. He also took shots about Hogan, Savage, and the Dungeon of Doom, he called the Dungeon of Doom the Dungeon of Misfits. Basically, they're on their hit list. And Arn Anderson says about, we're here to defend the world title. And then you got the Dungeon of Doom trying to get in the ring. You got like the Giant was trying to get in the ring. Both, the Jimmy Hart, Zodiac, Taskmaster, Kevin Sullivan. They restrained the Giant, and that was it. This is setting up I think it was a road match at Super Brawl that year between Pillman and Kevin Sullivan. This was basically Pillman's last before going to ECW, then WWF later on in the year. So moving on to the only tag team match on the show, we got Sting and Lex Luger taking on the Super Assassins with Colonel Robert Parker in their corner. The Super Assassins are the Powers of Pain, that is the Barbarian and the Warlord. It really overshadows they cut scene with Craig Pillman. Pittman, sorry. There's it's confusing with Brian Pillman's surname and Pittman's surname because their surname begins with a P. Anyway, Pittman, once again, trying to ask someone to be his manager. He asked Mongo to be his manager. Basically, he said no. He said about, you're a sergeant, a leader of men. You don't need everyone else. Prove yourself in the rings. It's kind of shit like that. It's just this like storyline, this stuff with Pittman asking to be, asking for a manager. This is the third Nitro in the row. Basically he asked Bobby Heenan to be his manager. He said no. Jimmy Hart to be his manager. He took a dig. This was like on the Christmas episode of Nitro. And now Mongo said no. And Mongo's not even a manager. I think he became a manager slash wrestler when he's part of the Horsemen. That was be later on in the year. But in his early days in his career in WCW, he was he was a commentator. I don't get it. It's not leading anywhere. Anyway, the match just sucked. It's more like you blink, you miss. In the end, you had Sting locked one of the member of the Super Assassin with the Scorpion Deathlock. Luger locked the other member of the Super Assassins with the Torture Rats, got the victory. Then we got Mean Gene Okerlund interviewing the Dungeon of Doom. The two members of Dungeon of Doom, that is, the Giant and Jimmy Hart. Both Mean Gene and Jimmy Hart took dig at each other, because Jimmy Hart, basically Mean Gene took shot of Jimmy Hart's suit. Anyway, he said about, I talked about Hogan, Hogan said to him about keep your enemies closer and keep an eye on you, and he said about Hogan should have keep an eye on Jimmy Hart, and he said about turn around or switch around. He said about I might be Ric Flair manager one time, and the next man could be Luger's manager, and then Giant it really basically brings up the match on the 18th of December's episode of Nitro between Randy Savage and the Giant. I think that's for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, because Randy Savage was the world champion at the time, the previous month, before dropping the title to Flair at Starrcade. Basically, he brings up when basically Hogan attacked him with the chair, and that was it. I don't want to get in details of the Giants. He got buried in later years. Paul White. In later years in WCW, then in his whole bulk his career in WWE. So moving on to the main event, we got Ric Flair defended the WCW World Heavyweight Championship against Hulk Hogan. A solid main event with a bad finish, a confusing finish. I'll get to it a little shortly. Jimmy Hart taunted at Hulk Hogan. That's typical his shtick of Jimmy Hart. He's always like taunt his opponents with the megaphone. That's his shtick. Throughout his career. In WWF and WCW and any type of indie show. Anyway, so it was back and forth. Bulk of the match basically had Flair locked Hogan in the figure four leg lock, did the leg chop. I think he over-counted it. He was going for the win. Double A got involved, trying to hit Hogan with the knuckle duster. Hogan non-sell. And here comes the stupid finish. Basically, Hogan grabbed the knuckle duster out of Double A's trunks. Referee saw Hogan with the knuckle duster. That caused a disqualification. That was a confusing finish. And then here comes the overbooking shit. And then you got the Dungeon of Doom, most of the Giants, and trying to hit Hogan with a stool, a wooden stool. Savage came out, took the stool away from the Giants, and then they back off. I think basically you had the Zodiac, that is Ed Leslie, formerly known as Brutus the Barber Beefcake. He become the Booty Man after he ditched the Zodiac gimmick. He was Hulk Hogan's double agent, and then the Disciple, that'll be in the early days of the NWO, like 96, 97, 98. Anyway, so, and then you got this final main event segment with Hogan and Savage. They basically challenge Arn Anderson and Ric Flair in a tag team match. And also Hogan did some, fairy tale reference, Basically he said about if I beat, beat Flair and Anderson, basically he's gonna knock that beanstalk. It's way better than Roman Reigns doing the whole, Jack and the Beanstalk, that his fairy tale reference. This is about 20 years later in WWE. Anyway, he referenced the Horsemen as four blind mice, and that was it. So yeah, this episode, Monday Nitro, for the 1st of January 1996. My final rating for this show, I'm going to give it 7, I'll give it 7.5 out of 10. This was a good show. I think it's the best show since the debut episode. It was you had a lot of good matches on the show. Like the opener, Savage versus Arn Anderson, Steve Regal. That, and maybe William Regal in WWE in later years. Regal versus Benoit. And the main event between Flair versus Hogan. The second match and the fourth match. Ended in like weak finishes, but they're still good matches. The only bad match on the show, it has to be the tag team match between Sting and Luger versus the Super Sessions. It's basically Blink or Miss It. And this shtick with Pittman looking for a manager, it's just basically filler. Yeah, it's a good way to kick off 1996 for WCW. So, hope you enjoy my review of WCW Monday Nitro for the 1st of January 1996. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, smash the like button, and subscribe to the Central Man Network on YouTube. We'll see you next Friday for another review of WCW Monday Nitro. This is the Big Boys Play.